Yes, here we are once again, Punt Pals podcast for another week. Nick Restovic, I'm Robbie Vine. How are you, buddy?
Great, man. How are you, mate? Yeah, going well, thanks. It was an interesting weekend of footy. Some pretty big upsets, wasn't there?
There were some massive upsets, I tell you what. Tipping was an absolute nightmare, don't you reckon?
Shocking, wasn't it? All the roughies coming in, and a weird feeling this today. We've got both the WA teams up, but your team went down in flames, so it's a bit strange, isn't it?
Man, it is a bit strange. I was expecting more, but you know what, we'll rip into that a little bit later. Very disappointing stuff from the Dons. It was horrible. Mate, we do have a huge week ahead, by the way. Once again, we're doing it in 3 hits. So last week we actually started a 3-episode week, essentially, and people loved it, didn't they?
Yeah, the feedback was really good, mate. A bit more palatable just to tuck into a shorter version on the way into work, and the feedback was great. So thanks to all the punters who reached out to us and let us know we're on to a good thing.
Bloody oath. So what about you, mate? Weekend highlights and lowlights. What was taking your fancy this week? What happened?
Mate, we had a bit of a highlight. Went down to see Triggers, who's a big listener of the show and good mate of mine down in Mandurah. He had the slow cooked meats going. We watched the Freo game, had a few beers, and there were about 15 old kids running around getting into mischief. So that was a highlight, mate. Freo won. I think I've got a bit of a flu on the back end of all those kids running around, so that's not ideal. But all in all, it was pretty awesome, mate. And then the low light, obviously, Adam Selwood. The news over the weekend coming through around him. And, thoughts go out to his family. It was such a sad news and a terrible way to end the weekend, wasn't it?
Absolute terrible stuff. Like, never, ever saw that coming. And, wow. I mean, I don't even really know what to say about it. Like, it was just one of those things. It was so shocking when we heard the news that you just go get around your mates and help people out where you can. It's just horrible.
Yeah, it is, mate. Very flattening news, and just a reminder to your point, great man, just to make sure that you spend that time to get around your mates and have those impactful conversations, whether that be fishing or catching up for a beer over the footy. Just getting around each other, supporting each other, and having those meaningful conversations to check in on your mates, mate. That's what it's all about.
100%. And I was listening to a potty during the week, and I think it was Jimmy Bartell that said it. He said, no matter what your worst day is, it's not better than this. Like, or it's not worse than this. Like, the result could have been different, I suppose, to put it in footy terms, and it's just a really sad thing. So, as you said, thoughts with the Selwood family and everything, and it was just terrible. I'm going to say that was probably my low light as well, to be honest.
What was your highlight, pal?
It's hard to transition away from that, isn't it?
It is, mate, it is.
Yeah, I guess for me, highlight was catching up with some mates on Sunday, actually. Pete and Amanda, they're doing some renovations at the moment in the backyard, so went and checked that out. It was pretty cool. They're the same ones that have that amazing boat, so, we didn't do that. We went and saw the renos this time.
I was looking out for you on the river there, mate, when I was in my tinny, just waiting for the huge Titanic to coast past, but, mate, it did look like you went out there in the end.
Nah, wasn't to be this weekend. Maybe next weekend. But I'm living the life of Riley. Off to Italy next week. So, there's a lot going on.
And I hear, mate, there's a few rumours that you might be full photographer duties throughout that trip. I hear Alana's got a few outfits planned, a few sponsors got the inside word that you might be very much on the content side, mate. Is that right?
Mate, definitely not rumours. I know my place in the world, Nico. Don't you worry about that.
Smart man. That'll be awesome, mate. Well, I hope the trip goes well.
Oh, thank you, mate. We will be talking before then. Don't you worry. We got one more podcast to go before we have a bit of a break. Let's have a look at last week's bets. And I tell you what, it was a rough week. I mean, really, you look at that. There's only one thing that got up, isn't there?
Mate, it was rough as guts. Like I've said, the upsets to start off with. Should we rip into the Dublin first, mate? What do you think? We'll start there.
Yeah, okay. So I took Carlton at 2.13. Sydney been going absolutely terrible. I thought, the Blues will get this done. No deal. That was one Dublin off the table straight up. What did you do?
Mate, I couldn't believe that first to start off with. Sydney, you wouldn't back them with any money whatsoever, and Carlton just goes to show that they're actually going pretty shite as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they are terrible, mate. And then yours, what did you miss there? I'm just looking. Oh, I see what you missed. Lay it on us.
Only 2 of 3, mate. No biggie. I had the Giants, Dogs and Lions head-to-head. The Dockers obviously tipped against my own team and came back to bite me. They got the job done and a huge upset. Their first win at NG Stadium in about 10 games. And then, of course, the Lions lost to the Roos as well, which was just crazy, wasn't it?
Who would have seen the Lions losing on the weekend? To the D's, not the Roos. They drew the Roos the week before, so they're having a howler of 2 weeks, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I know. It's just hard to predict at the moment, even head-to-heads. There's no such thing as a safe bet at the moment, is there?
No, there is not, which brings us to our WA SGMs, where we thought there was some safe bets, and you know what? They were just as unsafe when it came down to it. What was yours? You were big on possessions for Freo.
I was, yeah. Had Brayshaw 25, got the job done. Had Clark off half-back, got the job done as well. And then Ryan 20 plus. That was the first leg of mine to lose. It looked like they actually went with a bit more run and carry off half-back, which I actually asked them to do, which meant Lukey Ryan didn't get those cross-goal kicks and some of those setups that he runs off half-back. So he fell short, 18 possessions of the 20. And then Dudley and Bolton anytime. Bolton, of course, kicked a few goals and Dudley got subbed off. So 2 losing legs out of 6, mate. Not ideal.
Ouch, not great. Especially because Luke Ryan has been going really well lately, so that was a bit disappointing. You always expect him to be in the 20 possession sort of mark there. And spoiler alert, but a little bit later, I'll be having him in my don't trusts after looking at his record over the last 5 weeks or so. So bad luck there, mate. For me, it was my lock that let me down. So every week I go Cripps anytime goal scorer. That's saluted. Marrick 20 plus, that was easy done. Waterman 2 plus, all good, but it was Baker, my boy, who never misses on the 20 plus, who actually didn't get the job done. So I was very disappointed. He got 18 in the end, so I'm sure he'll bounce back, but that doesn't help my bank balance this week.
No, and featured in the coaches' votes as well for the game, Baker. So did all the hard things, the 1%ers, the big smothers, the tackles, just didn't get enough posies, mate. So you're very stiff.
Exactly right. And I think that's one thing we've got to separate. Sometimes you can play a very good game, but that doesn't help you from a punting point of view.
No, that's right, mate. So we go back to the drawing board again this week. The goal kickers too, mate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs, and we missed 2. Those let us down with Georgiades. He kicked 1 goal, 3. We needed him for 2 goals, and they only kicked about 30 points for the whole game, Port, so that didn't help. And then Jamie, blame your buddy Elliott, mate. 6 goals the week before. 1 goal, 2 for him for Collingwood. So very disappointing there, my friend.
It was very disappointing indeed, mate. I don't even think we need to get too stuck on it because it's just been a horrible week as far as our betting went. But that's what happens sometimes. That's the game, isn't it? As far as bankers, mate, you've pulled out a big stat. We had 36 bankers tipped this week, but a lot of them got up.
Yeah, 26 winners from the 36 bankers we put in. And the ones that didn't get up were probably a little bit rough, to be honest. Jamie Elliott for 2, we spoke about. Georgiades for 2. Butters was really quiet for Port. Needed him for 25. Didn't get it done. Hogan, kicked 6. Couldn't get 3 on the board the following week. Callahan, 25. Sheasel, 25. Sharman, 2. And Baker, 20. So some of those are usual locks every single week, man. So it's pretty tough.
I know. But I think we've done well overall. If we did all those bankers into as individual bets, I think we'd be up overall. So, you know what? We'll give that a tick.
Yeah, I think so, mate. I'll be putting all my bankers in another multi at some stupid odds again this weekend. Just ride out the weekends full of entertainment, buddy.
Love that. All right, so Freo Giants on the weekend. The Dockers saluted. Now, I'm going to just handball it straight to you. I didn't watch this game. I completely missed it, but I know you would have been in front of that TV, cheering along, screaming, and having a great old time. So give us a rundown of how that went.
Well, I guess the main highlight being the Dockers securing their first win at NG Stadium. 34 points they saluted by in the end, but you felt like it was pretty flattering to GWS. They kicked a few goals in junk time late. The Dockers really, mate, they really defied all the things we said about them last week. Michael Frederick got off the chain. He ended up kicking a career-high 4 goals on the night. So I was happy to eat humble pie there, mate, in the sense that Freo got the job done. But they really ran well off half-back. I think that was the knock we had on the previous week. They weren't moving the ball with any sort of pace, and suddenly, guys like Cooper Simpson came into the team. Luke Jackson played as a dominant force in the ruck for the whole game. Had 7 clearances, 21 posies, and they really looked a completely different side, mate. Moving the ball much faster and giving their forwards a great opportunity inside 50, and they made the most of those opportunities.
Love that, mate. It was very surprising, actually, to see how well the Dockers won. Congratulations to you, and it's brilliant. It just goes to show they're bloody hard to pick at the moment because, some games... Actually, do you know what? I said this the other week. They're the team that the games you think, nah, they're not going to win it. Mm-hmm. They come out and get it done. And then the games where you go, they're locks. They have to win here. They just don't do it. Oh, I don't understand.
Yeah, neither, mate. It's frustrating as a supporter. I think a couple of things I noticed. I think GWS came out pretty flat. They had a really tough game against Geelong the week before, and the Dockers got the jump on them early, which certainly took the crowd out of the game and got it in their favour. And then, as I said, half-back was a big change for me, man. Freo one week to the next. Your best players on the night, Bolton, Sarong, Frederick, Jackson, Brayshaw, Clark and Switkowski. So, a lot of those smaller players in there got the job done, and Cooper, Simpson, Chapman, Wagner and Johnson off half-back seemed to really just get the ball and go, mate. Take it through the middle, and when you're looking at centre-half forward and you've got that full 50 to kick to, left or right, makes you a little bit more unpredictable than going down the line like we did the prior week. So, really liked what I saw from the Dockers, mate. Very good.
Love that. Very well done. And you must be very, very happy with the way that all turned out, buddy. So will you tip him this week? That is the big question.
We'll have to wait and see.
And it was joy for the West Coast Eagles as well. How good is this, mate? We weren't sure if they'd win a game this year. I mean, honestly, I was questioning whether they could, but we've gotten to round 10. They've got it done. St Kilda have come across to the west and they have said, all right, let's do it. And well done. Well done to the Eagles. It was great to see McQualter get his first win as coach there as well. I think they had a bit of inspiration as well, Nico. So, I mean, they got it done for the Selwood family and for a legend of the club. So, well done to the Eagles.
Yeah, they were very impressive. I was very bullish on the Eagles. I said if this was the game they were going to cause the upset, it would be the actual time they win. And that was my only win for the weekend on the punt, really, was the Eagles.
You picked it.
Yeah, I was very keen on them, mate. I just think the Saints are a bit flat over here, and they're mixing form too. So wasn't confident on the Saints, and rightly so.
Mate, I've got to say, I should have listened to you as well because my wife, Alana, she did the same thing. She said, I reckon the Eagles will win this week, and she put $10 on it. And then she was so confident, she put another $10 on it, and she cleaned up in the end. So I should have listened to you, and I should have listened to my wife. Don't tell her I said that.
Hopefully she's not listening, mate. She'll dive right into that one. If you took the two WA teams, mate, you would have got a $12 multi on the weekend, which is crazy, head-to-head. So I guess that was the WA supporters. A few might have filled up. What did you like about the Eagles, mate? I thought they moved the magnets a bit and played with a bit more run and dead, didn't they?
They really did, and I've got to admit, I didn't see all the game. I just saw it in dribs and drabs there, but they seemed to be, as you say, just like pulling it out of the middle, going forward hard, and they just seemed on from the start. It was one of those games where essentially they were just kind of like, all right, we're in the mode today, we're going hard, we're getting on top of St Kilda early, and I just really loved the way they went about it. Liam Ryan was good.
Very good. Moving to the midfield's been inspired by the coach there in McQualter. He adds another element in there. He's always had the pace, but I think as he gets older, he's not taking those dangles on shoulders as much or that sort of game. So on the ball, very creative, and I thought that was a really great move from the coach to throw him and then Harley Rood through the middle throughout the game as well.
Liam Ryan spins me out, and I'm just doing this as we talk. I'm just Googling his age, because I don't think even now he's as old as you think he would be. He's still only 28. Can you believe it? Like, I feel like he's been around forever. And if you had to ask me, I would have said, he's 32, 33 now, but he's still got a lot of footy left in him.
Yeah, he does, and I think if he's got the tank like he did on the weekend where he goes forward and kicks goals in the last quarter and ran out the game really well, you can put him through the middle a bit more often, I think. It's definitely a time where the Eagles are still developing. They need a few more senior heads through there, and very smart move by the coach.
It really was, and I think the one thing as well, you've put it in the notes here, a special call out to the Eagles as well, because you know what, they had a job to do on the weekend, and they used a bit of inspiration to do it, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Adam Selwood was definitely a spur for them. We saw the emotions pre-game. Jamie Cripps, a number of others sort of connected to him. You could tell the emotions were there. They harnessed it. I think they brought some pride on their home deck, and I think probably the most important and the most exciting thing about them is they decided to throw Oscar Allen back forward as well, where he's performed for so many years. And I did call it out a few weeks ago. What's he doing at full back? Well, he straightened them up big time, I thought. Kicked 2 on the night. Probably could have kicked 3 or 4. But most importantly, brought the ball to ground, mate. So that's all you can ask for from your captain. And he was very emotional post-game, wasn't he?
100%, he certainly was. He's had his own battles this year, which he sort of touched on in the post-match interview. So very well done to the Eagles once again, mate. Let's move on to the barometer. And I reckon we'll start at the bottom, at freezing. The opposite of hell. We're going right into the sky here. Mate, what are you seeing there that you think, this is no good?
Port Adelaide, mate, they're all at sea at the moment, aren't they? The Ken Hinkley to Josh Carr transition plan is not looking very positive for them. They've beaten by 76 points on the home deck. They're only 1 game now ahead of the Tigers on the ladder. Absolutely shocking, mate. Freezing cold.
They certainly are, mate. And do you know what? I had one that I was going to put into freezing, but you've got it in cold. So I think I might just leave it there because that feels a little bit better. In cold, we've got the Dons 91-point loss. The one thing I was unsure about in this game, and the Bombers played terribly. Like, there's no questioning it. They were just horrible on the night. They just didn't have. I just didn't feel like they were up to it. Like, the Dogs were just all over them in every single element of the game, and they couldn't keep up the Bombers. So I don't know if the Bombers were really bad or if the Bulldogs were just really, really good. I think it was a bit of both, but even if the Bombers were good, it could have been 45 points, like 91 points. Not great after they've been talked up the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The only reason I didn't put them in freezing, they're playing some quality opponents, probably arguably the informed team in the league, and they've done that to 4 or 5 teams over the last 6 rounds. So that was the only solace that kept them out of the freezing section, mate.
Mate, and you've got the Saints in there as cold as well.
Yeah, well, they're just a team for punters that will let you down when they least should, and then they'll win games they shouldn't at huge odds. So they're frustrating. And I think particularly on the weekend, what we saw is they just had that lapse where they thought they were going over to West Coast and they were going to get the job done easily. They've obviously beaten teams like Freo and teams above them on the ladder the prior weeks, and then they lose to a team who hasn't won a game in over 16 games. So, to me, very disappointing from St Kilda. A few Saints fans at work, and they're absolutely spewing this week. They're coughing it left, right, and centre.
Mate, it's their life. They should be used to it by now. I mean, is there any surprises when you're a St Kilda fan?
I don't think so, mate. But there's no excuses for getting beaten up in the midfield and losing clearances to that West Coast list at the moment. That's the only time West Coast have got on top in clearances all year, and the Saints have some pretty good players going through there, McRae and others. They'll be hurting this week.
Yep, well, it almost happened to Essendon as well, so I'm not really going to say much more about St Kilda. Moving on to room temp, the Dockers. Huge win against the Odds. How are you feeling about this?
Well, they've gone from cold to room temp. I think we need to see it more consistently for them to move into the higher temperatures of hot or sizzling. But it was a good win against the Odds, mate. Backs against the wall. A lot of pressure on the coach, and I think that win against GWS over there, and a history-making win for them, their first one at NG, puts them in the room temp category, mate.
Love that. I'm just going to put Melbourne in there as well. I had them in freezing last week, so they've jumped 2 temperatures, but beating the Lions, it's a great effort. So it still makes me question where they're at, but at least you know that they can do it if they put their minds to it. So we're just going to put them in room temp. So they're just at that cosy, if we're speaking Italian, just straight level. We'll judge them after another couple of weeks and see if they go back down to freezing or they warm up a bit.
Yeah, they're a hard team to read, mate. But yeah, some of their more senior players are back to their best. I thought Melksham was really good at them at full forward. He kicked 4 goals, I think, on the night, and set up several others, including a little chip kick over the top on his left, a little curler, to ice the game for Melbourne. So, a lot to like about what they did on the weekend.
Love it. Who are you putting in as hot?
Well, Collingwood for me, on top of the ladder. Only losses are the GWS and the Cats, who are absolutely flying. Both those teams have won by 70-odd points in the last couple of weeks. So you've got to say they're the informed team, as much as you don't want to do that as a non-Pies supporter, mate. They're going very bloody well, aren't they?
They certainly are. And my hot was actually a team that you've got sizzling. So I might just leave that for you to go through the sizzle. But you're right, Collingwood looking very good at the moment. I did notice, though, their forwards, and I touch on this a little bit later in tomorrow's pod with my trust and not trusters. Their forwards didn't do much on the weekend after coming off a really big week. So that's interesting.
Yeah, they just have such a big spread of goal scorers. I think we saw them come over here and they had guys like Jack Crisp hit the scoreboard, Elliott, Bobby Hill. So the small forwards are busy, and then obviously their bigger forwards in Myercheck and others get the job done when they need to. So they've got a number of gears, the Pies, and still got an elite midfield. So I think they're going to be around the mix again.
I think you might be right there, mate. All right, let's finish it off with the sizzle. I'm going to jump straight in and say Bailey's Dale, because I was watching that game, and 49 posies. You thought he was going to get to 50. He was so close. He had 39 at three-quarter time. It was huge. Huge. I've never seen a game like it, to be honest. I know there has been players who have got to 50s, and I think I did watch those games, but I can't remember them. So I'm going to say I've never seen a game like it. Well done to Bailey Dale. You are sizzling this week.
Yeah, if you're going to break the most ever disposals by a Bulldog, you're straight inclusion in the sizzling section, aren't you, mate?
100%. You can't even argue it. It's probably almost too obvious that we shouldn't have mentioned it.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, mate. And I think there's a few other players just to mention that I've got around the sizzling and hot mark. Ed Richards, he leads the league in score involvements. Jack Higgins is having a great year. He's second to Coleman. And then Bailey Humphrey for the Suns. He's rated number one as a general forward in the game. So there are a few others that are going along with Bailey Dale in this sizzling section at the moment, mate.
Love it, mate. And you had the Suns there as well, hey?
Mate, they're playing the best football of their franchise history. We've now seen them beat some quality sides, which I think's been the knock on them in prior years. They're winning away from home. They've now beaten the Hawks, Dogs and Adelaide. You saw the Doggies on the weekend. They're a pretty formidable side. So,
oh, yeah.
Had they have not lost to Richmond, they'd be on par with the Pies, top of the ladder. So they dropped one, and that's probably hurt them a little bit. But you've got to say, mate, Ben King leading the Coleman. Long's kicked 19 goals for the year. They look like a much better team.
Agree. And who would have thunk it? After they finished, I think, about 9th or 10th last year, they've just really gone up a level. We could be seeing the Suns actually play finals for the first time in their history. Time's going to tell. It's only round 10. I've seen teams do this before and drop off, but, I mean, the results so far are very impressive, and well done to the Suns, mate. As we finish off the barometer, that's the episode done for today, which is great. We've got 2 more to go for the week. This is a lot of fun here, the way we're doing it these days. And Nico, as you said at the start of the episode, thanks for everyone to getting around it, and hopefully they're enjoying this new format.
I think they will be enjoying it much more if we can steer them all onto a few winners this week, Robbie. We're in a bit of a dry spell, mate. We need some rain. We're in the drought.
This is the week. Wednesday, Thursday, we'll find you some winners. That is Punt Pals podcast. Good on you, Nico.
Cheers, Robbie.